into algebra now in this class. We're going to start by talking about integers. We're going to do a whole unit on integers. And what is an integer? Okay? Well, when we talk about integers, we are talking about the positive and negative whole numbers. Key word is whole. Positive and negative whole numbers. All right? No fractions, no decimals, just positive and negative whole numbers. So let me just throw out some examples of some integers. The number 9. You remember that from Sesame Street? This broadcast is brought to you by the number 9. Well, the number 9 is an integer. Negative 13 is an integer. 117 is an integer. Negative 26 is an integer. And so is 0. 0 is also an integer. All right? So, one of the other things we have to understand is what do we mean by a negative number? One of the best illustrations that I know of for understanding integers is the idea of a hole in the ground. Let's say that I've got your yard, and you've got a hole here, okay? So up here is your grass, right? And you've got this hole in the ground. A hole in the ground is like a negative, okay? So let's say that this hole was 8 feet deep. Let's say it was 8 feet from here down to here. You want us to work off this? Yes. If you have an 8-foot hole, that is like negative 8, which we know is an integer. Now, if a hole in the ground is like a negative 8, then if I wanted to talk about a hill of dirt, that would be my positive value. Let's say that this hill over here is 5 feet tall. Okay, from there to there is 5 feet. Well, that hill of dirt would be like, this is like positive 5. I know we don't usually write the positive in front of it, but I'm making the distinction between a positive integer and a negative integer. Okay, this is very important to what we're going to be doing. So, one of the first things you're going to be asked to do, for example, is they're going to say, write the integer that represents the situation. Write the integer that represents the situation. So we just talked about a hole in the ground. So they're going to give you a situation and you're going to have to write either a positive or a negative integer for it. So this will be easy. What integer would I write for a 7-foot hole? What integer would that be? Negative 7. Okay, very easy. That would be a negative 7. What integer would I write for a 12-foot mound of dirt? What integer is that? Just regular old 12. Okay, positive 12. We don't even have to put the positive. If we just write 12, we know that it's a positive number. All right. How about a $15 profit? If you make a $15 profit, do you make money or lose money? You make money. So isn't this a positive 15? Okay. This would be positive 15. I think you get the idea for writing the integer. The next thing they're going to ask you to do is to find the opposite of the integer. Find the opposite of the integer. So let's say they gave you, this is going to be very easy as well. Let's say they gave you negative 14. What's the opposite of that integer? Positive 14. Okay, we don't need to do another one of those. That's very easy. If they ask you to find the opposite, it's just the opposite. Now, the next thing we need to talk about is how do I know if one integer is bigger than another? Let's look at a number line real quick. 0, maybe we'll go up to positive 4, and I don't know, I'll come down here a ways. Here's negative 2, here's negative 4, here's negative 6. If I am talking about what number is bigger than another number, and I'm looking at this number line, let me just throw two numbers up there. Let's look at negative 6 and negative 4. Which one of those two numbers is bigger? Basically, yes. The farther to the right it is, okay, that's the bigger one. Negative 4 is farther to the right than negative 6, so I would say that negative 4 is greater than negative 6. Okay? So you basically have to understand which number is farther to the right. So if they ask you in homework to compare, I think maybe they say copy and complete, but compare using less than, greater than, just less than or greater than. We're not going to do equal to. Copy and complete using less than or greater than. Let's say they give you negative 8 with a space compared to negative 5. All you need to do is put in the correct inequality. Which number is bigger? Negative 5 is bigger. So the alligator mouth is the bigger number. If I wanted to read this, though, I would say negative 8 is less than negative 5, which you need to be able to read that left to right. Let's do another one. How about negative 3 compared to 0? 0 is bigger. Okay, so once again, I would put my mouth that way. Okay. How about 4 compared to negative 10? Which one's bigger? 4 is bigger. So my mouth would face that way. 4 is greater than negative 10. One last thing that we need to know how to do today, and that is to put some integers in order. Put in order least to greatest. Put in order least to greatest. So they're going to give you a list of numbers like this, negative 8, 2, negative 3, 0, and negative 9. They're going to give you a list of integers and tell you, put them in order, least to greatest. So which one of these numbers up there is the least, is the smallest? Negative 9. What's the next one after that if I'm going least to greatest? Negative 8. Then what? Negative 3. Then what? 0. and then 2. Okay? And so you put them in order, least to greatest. We're going to stop there for today.